A magnificent architectural masterpiece. Its stunning beauty and elegance draw the eye. Sparkling crescents of minarets and a shining dome which seems to reflect the whole world. For a long time it has been considered to be the oldest one in the country. For many years, live streams of many religious holidays have been broadcasted from this place. Nowadays, after being reconstructed, it has become the largest one in Europe. It was its fortunate destiny that for more than a century it has never closed its doors. The Moscow Cathedral Mosque, a fairy tale of the East in the heart of Russia.
The Moscow Cathedral Mosque is in the people's souls. The fact that it attained its new architectural appearance after 111 years since it was founded reveals how important it is for the future generations of Muslims of Moscow and Russia in general.
Огромное имеет значение для будущего поколения, для мусульман Москвы и России и в целом для государства.
Мечеть — это вот то место, где мы сохраняем.
The mosque is the place where we can preserve our culture, religion. There is no other place like this. Moreover, the Moscow Cathedral Mosque is the symbol of tradition, dated back to more than a century.
Москва — это мегаполис мирового уровня. В Москве
Nowadays, Moscow is a huge cosmopolitan city where people of various religions backgrounds live, including a great number of Muslims. I think that the city will benefit a lot from having such a beautiful mosque, because not only Muslims will visit it to pray or to hold religious services, but also it will attract lots of tourists.
December 12th, 2014, Friday. Worshippers overcrowd the Moscow Cathedral Mosque. Today, the chairman of the Russia Mufti's Council, Mufti Ravil Gainuddin, is going to hold a holiday prayer together with them. Truly a historic moment.
عدل فينا قضاؤك ماض فينا حكمك نسألك بكل اسم هو لك
Prayers are rising to heaven, and the crescent covered with gold leaf glaze is towering to the sky. An elegant 2-meter crescent is being lifted up to its top. The constructional erectors need to adjust details at a height of dozens of meters, which requires from them an incredible accuracy. Thousands of worshippers look up and hold their breath, waiting for the job to be completed. The crescent, which crowns the minaret of the historical part of the mosque, is set to its place at the Constitution Day. For the Muslim population of Russia, this holiday has a deep historic symbolism. It was the day when 110 years ago, on the 12th of December 1904, the Muslim community of Moscow, after long negotiations, finally got an approval from the city government to build a new cathedral mosque close to Meshchanskaya Street. Why was exactly this place chosen to be one of the biggest religious centers of Islam? How did they manage to build it in just 5 months? And whose names were crowned with immortality? At the end of the 19th century, the number of the Muslim population of Moscow reached 10,000 people. Most of them were born and raised in the Simbirsky and Nizhegorodsky regions. In Moscow, they used to settle down just close to Meshchanskaya Street. It was at that time when this area of the city became a landmark for Muslims.
They are people whose upbringing was based on a religious tradition. Religion, especially in the Nizhegorodsky region, was not just one of the sides of the lifestyle, but it was its essence. It permeated throughout social and everyday life. Despite moving to a big city and due to strong ties to their homeland and diaspora association,
в большой город, в Москву. Тем не менее, они старались, благодаря своим занятиям, благодаря тесному кругу общения, земляческому кругу, связи с родиной, с деревнями.
These people managed to maintain their religion-based way of life in Moscow as well.
Помогало, во многом этому помогало.
A parish was established. However, people had to pray outdoors because the Muslim community at that time did not have its own building. Due to the efforts of wealthy Muslims who came from rich and well-known Tatar families such as the Akbulatovs, Shirinskys and Burnashevs, the Muslim community of Moscow finally got a piece of land at Vypolzov Lane. However, the construction of the mosque required a huge financial investment. A man who bore the costs appeared. Old photographs. A well-to-do Tatar merchant family. It seems that all the family members gathered together. However, the head of the family, Sadih Yusupovich Erzin, is not on the photo. The name of this merchant and patron of arts is associated with the establishment of the Moscow Cathedral Mosque. He was born in a small village of Azeyevo in the Tambov region. And from an errand boy, he ended up to be a rich cotton and karakul dealer and a landowner. In Moscow, he owned several mansions.
According to the memories of his descendants, Erzin was a strong-willed, tough man committed to patriarchal ideals. A true merchant, like other merchants whose portraits are depicted in Ostrovsky novels and plays, Erzin was a person of his time, which was characterized by its traditional and paternal way of life, who at the same time was actively involved in the development of capitalism in Russia.
Erzin was a devout Muslim. He believed that Islam condemns a depiction of human beings. He was also dedicated to charitable works. He provided financial support for the mosques and Sunday schools of his birthplace. That is why the Muslim community of Moscow turned to him for assistance. Erzin covered the costs of the construction site unseen. The mosque was completed in the shortest possible time. It took only 5 months to build it. In future, it almost led to disruption. We will speak about it a bit later on. But for now, the first call to prayer is heard in the Moscow Cathedral Mosque, ushering in the beginning of the life of the mosque in Moscow. This is Hamza Abi. He's been attending the mosque for more than half a century. He is a member of the Moscow Cathedral Mosque since the beginning of the 50s. But today, when he looks at the renewed complex of the mosque, which is still covered with scaffolding here and there, he feels like he sees it for the first time. He is mesmerized. The view left him speechless.
This is an old mosque. It is just the same as it used to be. These are the windows.
A historic part of the mosque was carefully preserved and incorporated in the site of a new complex. That is why for Hamza Abi, as well as for millions of worshippers, the Moscow Cathedral Mosque has become the symbol of resilience and firmness. How did it manage to withstand hardship and even during the years of the militant atheism, leave its doors open for the worshippers? The 1920s and the 1930s. Dark times for traditional religions, lit by the flames of burned icons and church plate and shaken from the explosions that razed ancient churches to the ground. But unlike its attitude towards Orthodox Christianity, it took some time for a young Soviet state to take its stance on Islam. The idea of the world revolution with an eye on the East forced the Soviet leadership to act cautiously in the beginning. But in the 30s, though, anti-religious campaign took over. Many mosques were closed, including the oldest one in the Zamoskvorechye district. However, the mosque in Vypolzov Lane again stood strong.
Большое значение имел период Великой Отечественной войны.
How did the Moscow Cathedral Mosque manage not to get closed down? There are different factors to take into consideration. During World War II, Moscow Muslims, together with the representatives of other religious denominations, were not only fighting on the war front, but also collected money for the Soviet Red Army. A letter of appreciation from Stalin, who expressed his gratitude towards Muslim community, was sent to the mosque. This letter was a writ of protection that granted the mosque security.
Of course, the Soviet government eased its pressure on Muslims, but only nominally. The survival of the mosque and its worshippers was hanging by a thread. Many religious leaders encountered persecution. However, notwithstanding possible harsh consequences, there always were imams who climbed up the pulpit and delivered sermons to the people.
Внутри, значит, имам проповедь все это, а мы стояли
Imam
на
delivered a sermon inside the mosque, and we stood outside. There were groups of people from this or that village.
Hamza Abi visited the mosque for the first time right after the end of the war. There are photographs of that time which show that the tram traffic was blocked off for the whole period of the holiday prayers. People prayed in compliance with age-old traditions, which could not be broken even by the overwhelming sense of fear.
В Турции приезжали, значит, делегации.
I remember very well the visit of a high delegation from Turkey to the mosque for a Friday prayer. They talked about life in Turkey, and the Turkish minister recited the Quran.
Читал Коран. После пятничной молитвы Коран читал. Равиль Хазрят просил, значит, он Коран читал.
These are present-day photographs. The chairman of the Russia Muftis Council, Ravil Gainuddin, is welcoming the president of Lebanon. The visit of a high level. The Moscow Cathedral Mosque was and still is the platform for such significant events. By an amazing twist of fate, a small local mosque turned into one of the representative nature.
Руководство Советского Союза, они хотели показать высоким гостям, которые приезжают в нашу страну.
The leadership of the Soviet Union wanted to present the mosque to foreign guests. By its very existence, it proved that the Soviet government allegedly respected all religions. In 1956, President of Indonesia Sukarno, President of Egypt, Chairman of the Libyan Arab Jamahiriya Gaddafi visited the mosque.
Президент Египта. К нам приезжали высокие гости, такие как полковник, глава ливийской арабской джамахирии Муаммар Каддафи, покойный.
Это и премьер-министр Малайзии Махатхир Мухаммад неоднократно посещали.
The Prime Minister of Malaysia and Lebanon, presidents of Iran and Palestine visited the mosque a number of times. This means that the Moscow Cathedral Mosque played an important role not only for Muslims of Russia, but for Muslims around the globe as well.
Современные лидеры Палестины, Махмуд Аббас и руководство движения Хамас и многие другие. Конечно же, мы можем увидеть, насколько данная мечеть играла важную роль не только для мусульман нашей страны, но и для мусульман всего мира.
Пытался Муаммар Каддафи дать пожертвования мечети, но это
Muammar Gaddafi even tried to donate some amount of money to the mosque. However, religious leaders at that time faced a lot of unanswered questions and topical issues. What could they say about a religious education that did not exist? How could they explain that they are not allowed to accept foreign donations?
Как ответить еще на какие-то острые вопросы?
Some outstanding imams, such as a famous Ahmed Jan Mustafin, could take credits for settling such issues. They were not only well-known scholars of Islamic studies, but also experts in the art of conversation. They managed to find common ground and get along with sheikhs and heads of states. For example, Ahmed Jan Mustafin was fluent in Arabic. He graduated from one of the largest madrasas of the Russian Empire in Kazan. These imams were even allowed to go overseas. They were experienced diplomats who could fit religious traditions into a Soviet ideology in a smart way. Thanks to their efforts, the mosque became a geopolitical center and managed to withstand when almost the whole district at Vipolzov Lane was razed and reconstructed for 1980 Olympic Games.
Они получили разрешение, сразу приступили в зимнее время. Без учета зимних условий.
As soon as the Muslim community received approval from the city government, they immediately began construction without taking into account the winter time or that it was situated close to Neglinka River, which could erode the ground. The mosque was built in just 5 months, starting from November. As a result, after 100 years, it fell into such disrepair that we were not allowed to enter the mosque for worship. I assumed responsibility and held the last service in 2009.
Ограничив посещающих, проводил последнее праздничное богослужение Ураза Байрам в 2009 году. Мы уже вели мониторинг.
We monitored how far the decay of the building was going, how wide the gaps and cracks were getting. We tried to underpin the foundation, but it was in vain. The technical services assessed the building. According to their expertise, the mosque was at a breakdown condition. It was no longer safe for believers to enter it. Therefore, we had to build a firm and solid mosque on this sacred site, a well-grounded mosque that would serve our worshippers for centuries.
Поэтому мы должны были иметь на этом намоленном месте крепкую мечеть, фундаментальную мечеть, комфортную мечеть, которая будет служить веками.
The difficult decision to rebuild the mosque was approved at all levels, including the administration of the state and the city. We decided to reconstruct a historic part of the mosque in its original architectural style.
In 2014, we were entrusted to complete the construction of the mosque that began in 2011. It was an honor for us. Despite all the difficulties, we completed it on time. And we hope that this mosque will serve the well-being of Muslims of Russia.
The mosque, as in the previous years of its history, kept functioning even while the construction works were in progress. During big holidays and Friday prayers, they were suspended.
С грунтами особых проблем не было.
We didn't face any serious problems with the ground. The only thing was, when we built a minor prayer hall, we hit upon the karst formation. We installed piles and a 1-meter-high solid slab under the foundation. As a result, the Moscow Cathedral Mosque is standing firm on a solid foundation.
Although constructors managed to figure out ground-related issues, they faced other challenges underground, such as Neglinka River enclosed in pipes, one of the lines of Moscow Metro, and dedicated line cables.
Board piles were installed in each part of the foundation under the minarets. Constructors guarantee the safety of the building management for another 300 years. We're pleased that we were able to build such a mesmerizing and strong construction.
Заложив 138 буросекущих свай, на основании будущей Московской соборной
138 board piles support the foundation system of the mosque. We applied the latest construction technologies to increase the bearing capacity of the soil. It should be mentioned that the drilling process of the piles didn't cause any damage to the buildings located close to the mosque.
This construction work needed a delicate touch. Crescents crowned 2 main minarets and the small one. The Moscow Cathedral Mosque complex fits into a rather tight plot of land.
The highest peak of the mosque is 80 meters, which is a crescent. The volume of the stone that decorates the facade reaches 2,500 tons. There were stone blocks that weighed up to 1,500 tons needed to be mounted to the facade. New developments in the form of stainless steel guides on which stone blocks were installed were applied during construction. All the decorative elements and beautiful carved details on the roof of the mosque, on its minarets, were attached to special fasteners. Each piece weighs around 250 to 350 kilograms. It is indeed a very laborious work.
The world's best experience was taken into account during construction. However, at the same time, the Moscow Cathedral Mosque has its own features, its own character. The head of the Russian Mufti's Council suggested this idea.
Олицетворяют и Спасскую башню Московского Кремля.
The minarets meant to resemble one of the Moscow Kremlin's towers, the Spasskaya Tower, and one of the towers of the Kazan Kremlin, the Suyambike Tower. This illustrates that Russia rests on two cultures. Our aim is to maintain the unity and the integrity of the state. Thus, we wanted to show that Islamic architecture is an integral part of the Russian culture and architecture. The mosque enriched Moscow's golden-topped skyline with a new dome. The dome and pavilions of the mosque are covered with 12 kilograms of golden leaves. The central dome is 52 meters high and almost 20 meters in diameter. There are two more inner domes under the central one, which all together form an internal space of the mosque. Stunning beauty. Later on, we will speak about luxurious interior design of the mosque, which is no less symbolic than the overall architecture. The inner space of the mosque complies with traditional design. However, what distinguishes the Moscow Cathedral Mosque is its 6-level structure. It has 2 underground levels and 4 levels above the ground. This type of structure was chosen due to a compelling need to expand prayer space. The new mosque has 20 times as much space as the old building and can accommodate up to 10,000 people.
Это, безусловно, улучшит некую обстановку во время, в первую очередь, пятничных молитв, потому что мы в последнее время наблюдаем, что большое количество людей молятся, к сожалению, на асфальте, в снег и в дождь.
This will create better conditions for people to pray on Fridays. We used to see worshippers who pray outdoors in the snow and in the rain. Now we will provide them with comfortable conditions to perform prayers. Besides, the mosque will be disabled people friendly. There will be ramps and elevators. The mosque will be equipped with the state-of-the-art technological solutions. From any room, you will be able to see what is going on in the main hall. The mosque will attract young people as well. The new complex will include a Sunday school where future imams will get a religious education, a printing house, and a museum. Tours for tourists will also be available.
В этой мечети будет музей ислама. Это тоже некое место, которое будет представители и других конфессий также притягивать.
We're going to establish the Museum of Islam within the new complex of the Moscow Cathedral Mosque. For a long time, we have been working out to implement this project that is supposed to attract not only Muslims, but also people of various religious background in Moscow.
Что в стенах этой мечети будет благословенный голос нашего пророка. То есть некая такая особая, божественная, пророческая благодать, да, вместе с этой мечетью будет находиться вот в нашем городе, будет пребывать в нашем городе, в любимом городе, городе Москва.
Moreover, the mosque is still perceived as one of the main centers of international relations. It is a headquarter to the 2 largest Muslim organizations of Russia, the Russian Muftis Council and the Religious Board of Muslims of the Russian Federation.
Важная, на мой взгляд, составляющая – это конференц-зал, где будут проходить различного рода.
The new complex of the mosque will also include a big conference hall where we are going to hold various meetings and forums of both local, national, and international level. The Moscow Cathedral Mosque has always been the place where historically important memorandums and agreements were signed. The new mosque will have all the necessary facilities for this.
Для меня это огромное...
Personally, I, as the official in charge of urban development and construction, feel satisfied with the result. I extend my sincere gratitude to all those who were involved in this project. First of all, I'd like to thank Ravil Hazrat for his initiative to reconstruct the mosque, his strong will and commitment. Also, I express my appreciation to Suleiman Kerimov, the main sponsor of construction, a person who invested in this project. I'd like to thank Rustam Minikhanov for his active involvement into the project, as well as the mayor of Moscow, Sergei Sobyanin, who gave directions to the city municipal services for the off-site improvements. Of course, I'd like to thank constructors, developments, technical supervisors, and mosque goers who donated money to the reconstruction project. I think the result, that is the new complex of the Moscow Cathedral Mosque,
Значит, всем, кто пожертвования значит, давал на строительство этой мечети, всем огромное спасибо. Я думаю, что результат этот будет достойно оценен всеми, потому что появление такого уровня объектов
will be highly esteemed by everyone. The beautiful mosque, equipped with the latest technologies and with various facilities available, is a gift to the city. I grew up in Tatarstan, and it's very important for me as a representative of the Tatars that now we have such a mosque in Moscow. I am pleased that Allah gave me the opportunity to contribute to the construction of this project, at least at the management level. I consider it a significant achievement and accomplishment in life.
It only remains to put some finishing touches before the opening ceremony. The President of Turkey deployed the best Turkish calligraphers as a token of friendship to decorate the interior of the mosque. All sketches of various ornaments were made especially for the Moscow Mosque. Literally, natural beauty. Paint was made from natural ingredients. All elements of the interior decoration are handcrafted, including a luxuriously decorated dome.
Если начинать с купола, на нем
The
написано
dome is decorated with the sign Bismillah in the name of God and the Surah Sham. On the hoop under the dome, you can see a text that consists of 16 parts. It is the Surah Nur. Below there are Sinan's arches with the names of 10 companions of the Prophet written on them. At the top of the columns, we can see the muqarnas decorated with gold, which are one of the symbols of Islam.
Fancy Arabic script echoes the mysterious glow of handmade stained glass windows, which are viewed as one of the architectural treasures of the mosque. The names of Allah the Almighty will be written on them. In Arabic, they are called Asma ul-Husna, ceramic tiles with unique national ornaments, an elegantly carved marble pulpit, minbar, marble niche in the wall of the mosque, mihrab, chair, kursi, stained glass windows, front doors, carpets of the prayer hall. Every detail is imbued with the quivering attitude of the masters. The flow of light repeats the shape of the dome. There are 320 chandeliers in the mosque, and each one of them has its unique design. The central chandelier is more than 7 meters high and weighs 1,500 tons. A gold-plated frame made of brasses and bronze with 350 lamps, a stunning chandelier was handcrafted by the best glassmen. For 3 months, they had been creating this crystal-clear masterpiece.
When it comes to chandeliers of the mosques, the most important principle for us was sustainability. This is why we used special, long-lasting materials. The weight of the central chandelier is about 1,500 kilograms. To lift it up to the dome, we applied a special fastening system hidden inside it.
The numerous windows with fanciful drawings fill the mosque with natural sunlight. The carpet in the main prayer hall, decorated with a national ornament, creates a magical atmosphere.
Дом – это что-то такое теплое, это что-то такое близкое, это что-то такое…
We usually associate a house with something warm, intimate, pleasant for our soul and heart. The mosque is the house of Allah. In fact, when a person goes to the mosque, he directs his step to his closest friend. Just imagine what kind of emotions he should feel here.
И вот представьте себе, какие ощущения, какие переживания человек должен ощущать, переживать именно здесь.
Little time left till thousands of worshippers will come to the mosque to pray, to perform nikah, the wedding, and the rite of isem kushu, that is, naming ceremony. People will gather together on big religious holidays to share their joy and happiness, and in the days of loss and bereavement, to perform funeral prayer, janazah.
Ислам в нашем государстве не является религией мигрантов, а является религией коренных народов Российской Федерации.
Islam in Russia is not the religion of migrants, but it is the religion of the indigenous nations of the Russian Federation. Muslims of Russia managed to preserve their religion and its true values.
открывая свои двери,
And the Moscow Cathedral Mosque has played a crucial role in this process. Today, opening its doors to believers, the new complex of the mosque, its monumental architecture and unique exclusive elements of design will give strength to the Muslims, bring them joy and faith, and of course will beautify the capital of our multinational state.
и силу мусульманам, и радость мусульманам, и веру мусульманам, и, конечно же, украшать нашу столицу многонационального, многорелигиозного государства.
Neither revolution, nor the anti-religious five-year plans, nor the Great Patriotic War, nor the numerous plans to restructure the area could make the Moscow Mosque close its doors. Believers gathered in the mosque in the times of repression, thaw, stagnation, and the mosque provided for them protection and gave strength. Its dome, like a mirror, reflects the past of the city and the country. Now the Moscow Cathedral Mosque is a firm and solid historical fundament and a starting point for the future generations.